Those that remembered that it was at 4 o'clock, welcome. I'm Tom Watson. I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'll ask City Clerk Beth Davis to please call the roll.
Commissioner Sharon Neesmith. Here. Mayor Tom Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mark Caslen.
Here.
Commissioner Pam Smithwright and Commissioner Bob Glenn are both unavailable this evening.
Thank you. This time, I'll ask Commissioner Sharon Neesmith to present the pledge and the invocation. Please stand if you're able.
Thank you, Lord, for the blessings you have bestowed in our lives. Help us to make wise decisions and to trust in your plan for us. Protect and care for all, and let us all bless family and friends with kind words and activities. Help us to remember that we are blessed because of the goodness in our lives from you. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I was actually worried I was going to have to sing. I'm so glad I didn't have to sing. I saw this on our agenda.
Did you wait to be called on?
No, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
You are bad. I got them on both sides.
You deserve us.
Next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Constitution Week. I'm going to read this proclamation, come down there and present it, and we'll take a picture, and it'll cost you $5. The City of Owensboro, proclamation, whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of a limited government and a republic dedicated to rule by law, and whereas September the 17th, 2023, marks the 236th anniversary of drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Thomas H. Watson, Mayor of the City of Owensboro, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17 through September 23, 2023 as Constitution Week in the City of Owensboro, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by diligently protecting freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Signed and sealed this 19th day of September 2023. So I will come down there, we'll present the proclamation.
Well, we could keep it short.
Which one are you?
Terry Smith.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. You have one in jail. Oh, are you? Oh, sorry about your luck. Let's shake hands. Rick, Brandon, Karen. Thank you. Please wait at the mic.
I get that a lot. Okay, I just got a little speech here. I'm Terry Smith, and I am the Constitution Week chairman for the Daughters of the American Revolution in General Evans Shelby chapter. And this is my daughter Tracy Klobe, who is also a member of the DAR. And we're proud that Mayor Watson does support our mission. And I will just tell you a little bit more about it. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Okay. I will be very brief. In 1955, the National Society of Daughters of the Revolution commissioned Congress to dedicate observation of Constitution Week, which Mayor Watson said September 17th through the 23rd. President Eisenhower signed it into law back in 1956, and we as daughters take this week we run all over town, the county, other counties, and we support it by giving out Constitution books and bookmarks with the pledge. And we've done this here for many, many years. But I do want to thank you, and now I'll be done. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the YMCA update. Mr. John Alexander, President and CEO. Please take the mic. State your name and address for the record.
John Alexander, 1513 Tamarack Road, Owensboro, Kentucky, 42301 for the time being. Shortly to be changed. Thanks for allowing me to speak today. Could I just have a personal privilege and give a couple of compliments to the staff before I give my report? Would that be acceptable? I don't know how many compliments you actually received. First of all, we had the privilege of having Sergeant Chris Collins today from OPD present to our senior staff concerning active shooter activities and preparedness, and we really appreciate that. I sent Art a note about that. I don't know if Art is not here, I guess, this evening, but, oh, sorry, Chief. But we really appreciate, thank you, Chief, for all of the, not only today, but everything that you've done to help us with security and safety at our YMCA. It's just been very appreciative, and it's just a very professional staff that you have, so thank you very much. I didn't get a chance to meet Mr. Franklin today, but I did talk with Kevin a bit, so Stephen, I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself, but I do want to tell you about a personal situation with the Public Works Department. We had some trees removed, some taller trees, and left the debris in our yard on Friday, which is normal pickup time. Unfortunately, that was also the neighborhood sale time for our garage sales, et cetera, and they weren't able to pick that up. So I called yesterday morning, and Kevin, help me again, who did I talk to? Probably Jessica. She was just wonderful and actually knew about this. I was amazed that they knew that I had not been picked up. And today, they arrived and picked them up. So Stephen, Kevin, thank you very much. You couldn't hire somebody to get there that quick in that situation, but thank you very much. They do. So thank you very much, gentlemen, in that regards, too. I do want to offer my thanks on behalf of the YMCA for everyone seated at the podium here at the dais, and also to my left. You've done a great job for us in helping us at our YMCA, especially during the last almost 3 years with the Senior Center collaborative effort. There was a lot of time spent by your staff and you as commissioners in that effort, and we deeply appreciate that. And I'm here to give you a little bit of an update concerning what next at the YMCA. First of all, I do want to thank several of these people to the left, because they've also contributed and helped us so much, and not only Kevin and Stephen, but thank you to Chief Howard and to Leland has helped a great deal. Kevin, of course, has helped, and finally Abby, of course, has been a tremendous help to us as well, so thank you very much for that. And then there's some people that are missing. I know Amanda's not here this evening, but she in the rec department, we've tried to dovetail and collaborate with them in many different ways as well. So thank you to each one of you. It's been a privilege to serve the YMCA in this community in the last 4 years. And we are in the process of making a transition. I just spoke with the candidate who has been hired to take my place. I will not reveal that, Mayor, tonight, because it will come public tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. And so I look forward to making that transition a smooth one in that regard as well. Our YMCA, of course, is kind of backtracking after the collaborative effort has stalled. And at this particular point, we're really concentrating on our child care. And we had purchased the building behind us almost 2 years ago. That was a former child care facility. You may be familiar with it at 730 Harvard Drive, as a matter of fact. So we're in the process of putting a roof on that. It's been contracted, and we are looking to make sure it's weather-tight for the winter as we try to plan for how we're going to expand our child care operation. That was part of the process of this whole collaborative effort. We're going to move our child care facilities from our second floor to that particular building and allow us to expand into those areas that we now use for child care. So that's going to be our plan at this particular point too. And moving forward, perhaps in a solo mission, we'll be looking to modernize and expand our facilities there at the Y, but also then move our child care facilities next door to give us that opportunity in that regards too. Plans are not finalized in any way, shape, or form. We're just starting after the July vote by the Senior Center Board. We're just now starting to try and regroup and determine exactly how we're going to fund that, and also how we're going to fund the major project for that renovation as well. That is our update at this particular time. I would like another personal privilege to share with you and just my good wishes, but are there any questions about the why concerning our status right now, or anything about our operations?
Financially, you're in pretty good shape?
Yes, we have about $1 million in the bank, Tom. We're blessed with the COVID money, but let me caution, the reason that we started, actually it was September the 11th of 2020. We met right over here for the very first meeting with our Senior Center colleagues to try and start that operation. Both of us were in rather urgent and desperate needs at that time. Well, COVID monies certainly helped, and you've been a part of that as well. But those monies are drying up, and I'm afraid that many nonprofits, unless they're looking down the road, are not going to be prepared very well for that cliff that is going to happen when those monies are no longer available to them. So we're in a hurry-up mode right now, Mr. Mayor, about trying to figure out exactly where we can go with developing our business model in a better fashion.
Thank you, Mayor. John, you were mentioning the child care. Is that going to be for the general public to come, kind of a first come, first served basis? And do you know about what the hours would be on that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mark. We're not determined yet as to whether we'll simply expand our after-school care and our camps in the summer, or if we'll actually get into preschool or a full daycare center. That's yet to be determined. State licensing is a real bureaucratic challenge. And so we have to take a look at that particular process. And then also the costs. We certainly don't want to submerge ourselves with losing money in that proposition. And child care expenses for the families are terrible. It's also really a challenge for those that are operating child care facilities. So it's a great question, and I should have mentioned that we still are indeterminate as to what we're going to do in providing that check. But at this time, it's going to be open to the public. It is not designated for a certain group. We are looking also, I might add, we're also looking at other possibilities with corporations, trying to help them as far as the child care issue. The workforce challenge is really severe at this time, and I think we're all feeling that. And we're trying to make the Y a part of the solution in that regards too.
Do you have a target date as far as opening it?
We do not. Again, we're still kind of regrouping from the situation. We put all of our efforts into that collaborative effort, and we're looking at trying to regroup in that regards too. I will tell you one other thing that the Y is very serious about, and we were just meeting with the United Way yesterday about this. It's collaborations. We have some wonderful nonprofits here in this community, but they're numerous, and the pie is not growing a lot. It's actually shrinking, and the slices of pies that are coming out are smaller as well. And so it's a situation where we thought this was a good opportunity with the Senior Center, turned out to not be popular. So we're looking at expanding that field. Not that we're going to take all takers, but we're going to be seeking other collaborations, Mark, just to see if that will enhance the ability for us to serve for a continuous and sustainable time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know from the first time I met you, I knew you were grounded in good Christian principles. I could just tell just what a quality individual you are. So if you'll meet me down front, I have a little something I want to share with you.
Well, Tom, can I kind of close this with a greeting concerning the song?
Well, sure.
May I do that? I don't mean to interrupt you. Leland, did I leave you out too, by the way, when I was thanking you? Okay, I'm sorry. You get left out of a lot
That's
of things.
Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah, it is. So we are going to be relocating to Terre Haute, Indiana. Some of you know that. Some of you may not know that the name Terre Haute means high ground. And I've always liked high ground, especially in my study of Civil War history. High ground was pretty important in most of those battles in that situation as well. So my challenge to you tonight is for you folks to seek higher ground. And I presented this to you. There's two songs called Higher Ground. Some of you might be familiar with Stevie Wonder's version. That's not what I'm after tonight. It's this particular version, and it's an old gospel hymn. And it closes by saying, Lord, lift me up and let me stand on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. So my challenge to you tonight and all of the staff in our community is seek that higher ground personally, professionally, and politically if you can. I'll be praying for you. I do pray for you, as a matter of fact, but I'll continue to do that from Terre Haute. And I think God can let me communicate that and
So
serve
you're
to
not
bless
willing
you.
to hum a few bars of this? Never mind.
No, I'll try and sing the chorus. How's that? Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's stable land, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Sorry.
All right.
Don't wait for the recording, by the way.
Viral on YouTube.
What's that?
I said it'll go viral on YouTube.
Yeah. That's it.
Since you're leaving, I thought I'd give you a little something to remember, Scott. It's a little funky little thing. It's the Mayor's Award of Distinction. So, if you don't mind me putting that on you, and we'll get a picture here, we'll do a quick, you can come down. Anybody want? Stand here, we'll bring that way. I don't know what that is so long, so I make it too long.
Mr. Mayor, I need to run over to the county meeting as well, pay the same respect, so.
Okay.
Allow me to meet.
Glad you let us go first.
It's the quality first, right?
Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Stay in touch. Woo. The emotion's going right off the bat. Oh. Okay, we'll go, item 4C, I think, is next. The transient room tax. Ms. Waniger and Mr. Pfeiffer.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
My name's Mark Pfeiffer. I'm the city attorney in Owensboro. I'm here today to present on the transient room tax. If you'll recall, this tax was often referred to as the hotel tax. Oh, thank you. It's paid mostly by visitors outside our community, and it consists of two taxes, actually. A 3% tax that is used to finance projects and other activities that promote tourist and convention business, and then an additional 1% tax to assist with ongoing convention center operating expenses. In 2022, the legislature... Oh, thank you. Hit the wrong button, Mark. In 2022, our legislature amended the transient room tax statute in some fairly significant ways. One is it expanded the accommodations subject to the tax to include, in addition to hotels, motels, and rooms, It would also cover tourist camps, tourist cabins, campgrounds, and RV parks. And then it also contained a catch-all provision that would make subject to the tax any other place in which accommodations are regularly furnished to transients for consideration, or by any person that facilitates the rental of the accommodations by brokering, coordinating, or in any other way arranging for the rental of the accommodations. So that language clarified that homes rented using services such as Airbnb and Vrbo would now be subject to the tax. And then there was an ongoing issue on the length of a stay that was subject to the tax, and it clarified that not any sort of stay in excess of 30 days would no longer be subject to the tax. And then if you'll recall, last year our Board of Commissioners passed Ordinance 17-2022, which is our city ordinance establishing the transient room tax, and it passed both the 3% tax and then the 1% additional tax as well. Sections 2 and 3 of the ordinance basically made sure that our ordinance mimicked the language in the state statute and the amendments. Section 5 required all people subject to the ordinance to file a monthly report and remit the tax. And then Section 5G imposed upon what were called in the ordinance host participants, which really means a homeowner, and it imposed upon those host participants who were using a brokering service like Airbnb or Vrbo the obligation to register with the finance department and to file the monthly report and remit the tax. And so, although the state statute didn't really clarify who in that circumstance would be liable for the tax, whether it would be the homeowner or Airbnb or both, our ordinance put that obligation primarily upon host participants or homeowners. Only in a situation where Airbnb or Vrbo had entered into a written agreement with the city would the host participant be exempt from the obligation to report and pay the tax. Currently, we have kind of an odd situation. Vrbo, Expedia are collecting and remitting the tax to our finance department, but no agreement has been reached with Airbnb, who has refused to collect and remit. This has led to a bit of unfairness in that our hotels are all paying the tax, but not all of the homes being rented through Airbnb and Vrbo are. And so one solution to that would be to amend the ordinance, and I'll pass this along to Angela for the remainder of the presentation.
Ms. Moniker.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to speak a little bit more from the finance perspective. And so as far as reporting goes, all remitters of the transient room tax, and the remitters would include brokers, which would be anyone who facilitates the rental, which would be like your Airbnb, VRBO, Expedias of the world, hotels, and private individuals. They're all required to file with payment on a monthly basis to the city. You can see a picture of our form here on the slide, and I know it's probably way too small to see, but I do have copies here with me if anyone wants to have a copy of the form. You can also find it on our website. The form is pretty straightforward and simple, and it will walk you through the calculations from gross room revenue down to the amount due. This return is due on or before the last day of every month for the previous month's rentals. If the form is not filed or paid timely, there is a late fee of 10% with a $25 minimum, which will be assessed, as well as interest at a rate of 0.5% per month. You can also obtain these forms at City Hall. So Mark spoke a little bit to what is required of the host in terms of our ordinance, but what else does a host need to do? And so one, to me, is the obvious. If you're going to do business in Owensboro, and that includes earning rental income, you must obtain a business license. The business license application also can be found on our website, or you can call the city's tax department to inquire of any needs you may have. If you already have a business license for an existing business. As long as your form of ownership is exactly the same for a short-term rental, you do not have to get a separate business license for that. If you have any doubts on that, just call our tax department. For those in the viewing audience, that number is 270-687-8537. We also have the short-term rental registration. If your broker does not have the written agreement that our city attorney alluded to with the city, you are responsible for filing and remitting this tax. So I would encourage everyone to check with your broker to ensure that they're doing that. So I wanted to add to that while the short-term rental market is an asset both to the host and to the people who stay, as the short-term rental business grows, governmental oversight must also move along with that growth, both in terms of revenue collection and regulating the rental activity, such as noise, parking, and maximum occupancy. And this is to protect the neighbors in the neighborhood. I just wanted to add as a side note, for those who are new to this, the city of Louisville recently revisited their short-term rental legislation for the third time since they implemented. And that just goes to show how active and changing this whole industry is, and so government needs to kind of flow along with that. But Louisville recently approved more than a dozen changes to their existing regulations due to neighborhood complaints. Any person violating any provision of the city's ordinance may be subject to a fine of not more than $500 for each offense, and/or imprisonment for not more than 30 days. And it should be noted that every month for which a report was not filed constitutes a separate offense. So I can't stress the importance of, if you're not sure if you need to file, please do call and inquire and ask, and we'll be happy to help walk you through that. So having said all this and gone through all our slides, what does this mean? What it means is every host is responsible for the transient room tax for rentals. Who remits this tax? Well, the collector of rental revenue and taxes is who remits the tax to the respective jurisdictions. By example, if a broker, such as Airbnb, collects the rental revenue and the taxes, they should file the form and remit the taxes. If the host or the homeowner collected the rental revenue and taxes, they should file the form and remit the taxes. There is often both situations occurring with a single rental. It's also very important for every host to check with their broker to make sure they're collecting and remitting the appropriate taxes to the city, to the county, and to the state. If the broker is not providing this service, the host may be responsible for all of these taxes. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Woniger. Any questions from the dais? Commissioner Kessler.
Yeah, I was curious, have we had very many Airbnb people call in to check and see, how to go about paying the tax?
We have one couple in town that is remitting on their own behalf for the rentals that they get through Airbnb. Just one couple. So it's good to get the word out.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many Airbnbs or VRBO, whatever it's called, are in city limits? Guesstimate,
I have heard the number of approximately 70 or so, possibly, but there's really no way for us to know for sure outside of having everyone register through the renter registration. Okay. So that number could have grown since then, since I heard that number, but that was an estimate that where the CVB had a meeting 9-10 months ago, that number was mentioned, an estimate. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to the comparative tax and financial overview. City Manager, Nate Pagan.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. And we'll talk a little bit today about a comparative tax situation. And we talk a lot about our financial status. We look at the budget, of course. We hear a financial report every month from Angela, but we don't often look at how we compare to other cities from a tax rate perspective. In fact, I've been here for 5.5 years, I believe now, and I think only one time have we looked at how our particular tax rates compare to some of our peer communities. And frankly, I'll tell you, they compare pretty well. And so that's the purpose of today's presentation, is to look at those taxes on a relative basis. But let me be clear, this is for informational purposes only. This is not any kind of setup that we need to increase the rates, because we're doing very well. So there are no proposed tax rates, even as we'll talk about later in the business portion of our meeting when we adopt our property tax rates, because we're not proposing to change that. So we're doing very well financially, but it's wanted everyone, both you and the public, to see how we are doing on a relative basis to other peer cities. Our largest revenue source, as you know, is the occupational tax. And so this slide depicts how the city of Owensboro's occupational tax rate compares to some similarly situated cities in the Commonwealth. And so you can see Henderson there on the left at the lowest at 1.65. And so they are lower than us, but you'll see why in a subsequent slide. But then you see us at 1.78. And then Bowling Green right now is listed at 1.85. But Bowling Green actually has taken action earlier this year that their rate will increase to 2.0 effective January 1st of 2024. So think about how much development they've had and how many headlines we see about projects and initiatives or industrial facilities that have located in Bowling Green, yet they're still having to increase their rate to balance their budget at this time. And then you can see there Hopkinsville, Paducah in a similar range, and then Covington being a little bit higher. So again, that perspective from an occupational as our largest source, we compare pretty well. Another big source that we'll finalize for this year later in the meeting is property tax rates. And so again, you can see here we're pretty good on a comparative basis. Bowling Green is the lowest. I think that makes sense if you think about the presence of Western Kentucky University being there, and so they have a large preponderance of tax-exempt property. So in that scenario, it would make sense to somewhat minimize the impact of the property tax when you have a substantial amount of tax-exempt property within your community. And so other than that, you can see Hopkinsville there, Owensboro's in the middle. And then this is where you see the offset there at the end with Henderson. If you remember, Henderson was lower on the previous slide in occupational tax, and you say that they make that up here on the property tax with the higher rate. And actually, this is a little bit lower than it used to be. It used to be Henderson at a very low occupational rate and a much higher property rate. But over the last few years, they've been trying to normalize that and increase their occupational rate while offsetting that with a decrease in their property rate. But again, overall, the city of Owensboro compares very well from property, and this is the real property, which is the primary rate on residential real estate, on real estate in the community. Our other big tax source is the insurance premium tax. And so a couple of cities, Owensboro included and Bowling Green, have a split rate based on a type of insurance. But you can see they're in a relatively small range here, between 7 to 12%. And like the others, we're in the middle. Covington, again, is the highest. Henderson's a little bit higher as well. And so our rate is split, and the 4% rate, I think, applies to health insurance. But overall, within a range, but we're appropriately situated, I believe. The next couple of slides were kind of gleaned from information that Bowling Green presented as part of their information when they were considering and approving that aforementioned tax increase. So they showed what I thought was really interesting information that we had not shown previously, and that is general fund information per capita. So the rate is just a rate, but what does that mean in a contextual environment? And so what this shows on this slide and the next slide is the general fund on a per capita basis. So the general fund, as I think most of you know, that's our main operating fund that accounts for the police, fire, the majority of public works, the majority of the parks, all of our activities here at City Hall, including ourselves, and general operating expenses are in the general fund. What's excluded from the general fund typically would be enterprises like the sanitation fund, which operates like a self-supporting fund. Excuse me. So this is the majority of our operations. And so it takes those amounts and basically just divides them on a population basis. So when it says the general fund expenditure per capita, that is just how much the general operations of the city costs divided by our population. So you can see what essentially the cost per person for providing our services really is. And so this was an interesting slide to me, that Owensboro is substantially lower in that regard. So our cost to our taxpayers for providing our services is quite a bit lower than our peer cities. So I think it's fair to say our citizens get a pretty good value for the services that we provide. So I thought this was interesting and meaningful and worth sharing. So this is expenditure. So this is our expenses on a per capita basis. And so you can see that in that environment, we're lower and then quite a bit lower than some of our peers. And the next slide is very similar, but this is general fund revenue. So this is basically what we generate in taxes for the general fund, again, divided by our population, so the cost per person essentially. And then similar to the last slide, we compare very well to these peer cities. Mayor, that concludes my comments, and happy to answer any questions. Do you have them?
Any comments? Hearing none, thank you, City Manager. Next item on the agenda, we'll go into business. Consider approval of minutes dated September 5, 2023. I'll make a motion to approve these minutes. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion, any deletions, any additions to the existing minutes? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5B, if you would please consider these board appointments. Owensboro Sister Cities and Regions Board, reappoint Beck Glenn to a 3-year term effective 2 October 2023. Alliance for a Drug-Free Owensboro and Davis County. Would you give me your thingamajig, or what's the deal? Reappoint Sharon Neesmith to a 3-year term effective October 5, 2023. And the Dugan Best Neighborhood Alliance reappoint Charles Hatchett, Bobby McCormick, and Cecil Phillips to a 2-year term effective September the 27th, 2023. I'll make a motion to approve these appointments. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next item is ordinance, second reading. We'll have a roll call vote. Ms. Davis.
Ordinance 22-23, an ordinance confirming the sale and awarding a non-exclusive gas franchise to Atmos Energy Corporation for the placement of facilities for the transmission, distribution, and sale of gas for heating and other purposes within the public rights-of-way of the City of Owensboro for a term of 20 years, imposing a franchise fee of 3% of Atmos Energy Corporation's gross annual revenues from the sale, distribution, and delivery of gas within the City of Owensboro, and authorizing the mayor to sign a franchise agreement with the Atmos Energy Corporation, publicly read for approval on second reading this 19th day of September 2023.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
City Manager, would you?
Just quickly, Mayor.
We talked about this.
We did
didn't
talk about it last time. So just a quick summary. It's the second reading of an ordinance awarding the natural gas franchise agreement to Atmos. They were the only bidder, which of course was expected since they own the natural gas infrastructure in our community, but state law and the Constitution still require us to bid it out. The franchise term is for 20 years with a 3% fee for their use of the public property or public right-of-way. 1% of that fee will go to the general fund, with the other 2% going to the economic development fund, where it must be utilized for that purpose.
And they are a great corporate citizen too, I might add. Do a lot of things for our community. Any other discussion from the dais? Ms. Davis.
Commissioner Neesmith? Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Caslin?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved. Item 6B, Ms. Davis.
Ordinance 23-2023, an ordinance levying ad valorem taxes for municipal purposes for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2023, and ending June 30, 2024, at the rate of 26.40 cents per $100 of assessed valuation of real property, 27.08 cents per $100 of assessed valuation of personal property, and 30.30 cents per $100 of assessed valuation of vehicles, and providing for the collection and apportionment of same, publicly read for approval on second reading this 19th day of September 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
City Manager, would you want to reiterate this tax scenario?
I'd be happy to. This ordinance adopts 3 property tax rates for the year. The primary rate is on real estate, real property. This ordinance reflects no change to the real estate rate from last year and really the last 3 years, continuing with a rate of 26.4 cents per $100 of valuation. So with this rate, a property assessed at $100,000 would pay $264 in property tax to the city. We also set 2 other related rates. There is no change to the vehicle rate, so it remains at 30.3 cents per $100, the same rate that it's been for many years. And on personal property, the final rate, the ordinance includes a rate of 27.08 cents, which is down from 27.6 cents last year. So for 2 categories, for property and vehicles, the rates remain the same, while the third category of personal property, the rate will actually decrease.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Ms. Davis, we'll do roll call again, I believe.
Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Caslen?
Yes.
Commissioner Neesmith?
Thank you. Motion approved. Item 6C, please.
Ordinance 24-2023, an ordinance annexing to the city of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the county of Davis, adjoining the present boundary line of the city, being property located at 45 Boothfield Road, Highway 3067, containing .995 acres, more or less, at the request of Justin Camacho and Casey DuPont, publicly read for approval on second reading this 19th day of September 2023.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve this ordinance. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any other discussion? City Manager?
Yes, Mayor, this is consensual annexation of the property you see in red. The property owner acquired a little bit of property to the east of them in the blue, which was already in the city, and so it must be annexed to be combined into one parcel. It is consensual, so they have requested us take this action.
Consensual, I like that word, yeah. Good job. Roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Caslen?
Yes.
Commissioner Neesmith? Yes. Mayor Watson?
Yes, thank you. Item 7, there are no first readings on ordinances. Item 8, municipal order. Ms. Davis?
Municipal Order 37-2023, a municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a memorandum of agreement with Justin Camacho and Casey DuPont, providing for the consensual annexation of unincorporated property located in Davis County at 45 Boothfield Road, containing .995 acres, more or less, and further providing that the city shall reimburse Justin Camacho and Casey DuPont $6,720.57, representing a total of ad valorem real property taxes from the property for 5 years. Read for approval on one reading this 19th day of September 2023.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve this. Could I have a second, please? Second. Any further discussion from the dais? Anybody in the public? Hearing none, all in favor indicate, but whoops, roll call, sorry, isn't it? Is it roll call?
It's not.
We're done? Okay. Where am I? Make a motion to approve. Could I have a second? We did that. Okay, City Manager, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the annexation incentive for the annexation that you just approved on your last item. This is basically a standard incentive. We don't really do as many residential annexations after they've been built. Typically work with the developers on the front end. However, we did have a program several years ago where we offer this particular program to quite a few of homes in the community, and so it's based on what has been done in the past.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, City Manager items. Item 9A, consider financial report for the period ending August 31st, 2023.
Yes, Mayor, if you would acknowledge Angela Waninger to present the report for August, please.
I acknowledge Angela.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're into the second month of our 12-month fiscal year. My PowerPoint presentation will be on the general fund for the month of August and year-to-date August. So for the month of August, actual revenues of $4,642,736 were less than budgeted revenues of $4,643,038, resulting in a variance of just $302. This variance is primarily due to higher net profits offset primarily by lower occupational tax withholding. For the 2 months ended August 2023, total actual revenues of $10,432,908 were higher than budgeted revenues of $9,891,006 for a positive variance of $541,902. This variance is primarily due to higher insurance premium license fees and higher occupational withholding. For the month of August, actual expenditures of $6,945,094 were higher than budgeted expenditures of $6,617,519 for a variance of $327,575. This is primarily due to timing and payment of insurance premiums offset by savings in personnel services. For our year-to-date, or 2 months ended August, actual expenditures of $11,219,268 were less than budgeted expenditures of $13,039,018 for a variance of $1,819,750. This is primarily due to timing in the transfer to the downtown TIF, timing in supplies, maintenance, and insurance, and savings of $344,800 in personnel services. And for our last slide, which is short and simple, the city's monthly revenues and expenses are cyclical. As you can see on the chart, just how cyclical they can be just in 2 months. This is the nature of finances at the city. Expenses, as depicted by the red bar, typically outpace revenues in the warmer months when outdoor activities are in full swing. Likewise, we have months where revenues, as depicted by the green bar, outpace expenditures, such as in the months of October and November due to collection of property taxes, and the month of April due to collection of net profits. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Thank you for a good report.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to file a report for audit. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9B, City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For your consideration tonight, we have the following personnel appointments. First, promotional probationary for Kevin Klobe and Jordan Thomas. Probationary full-time, non-civil service promotional appointments to fire driver engineer with the fire department effective September 24th. And Norman Lang, probationary full-time, non-civil service promotional appointment to lead telecommunicator with the police department effective September 24th. And for regular status, are those employees completing their probationary periods. Samantha Conley and Patrick Cunningham, regular full-time, non-civil service appointments to call taker with the police department effective September 25th. And Elijah Ian Probus, regular full-time, non-civil service appointment to police officer with the police department effective September 28th.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve these appointments. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 9C, comments.
One additional comment tonight, Mayor. I think there's an exhibit that will be shown. So every year for the last 3 or 4 years now, we have produced what we call the OBKY budget report. This is intended to be a summary of the budget that is much more understandable for the general public. So it is a 8 or 10 page document that uses graphs and pictures and a lot of information to depict or distill down what is relatively complex to a way that is hopefully meaningful. So if you could scroll through a few of the slides just with the letter, but then there's other considerations that show larger employers and information from an economic perspective, but then also that show, again, a summary of the budget and where the funds really flow. So what citizens are getting for their taxpayers. So you can see what is the city budget, for example, just a summary. And again, the intent is just a high-level overview that is somewhat approachable using graphs and charts like this to show what the city is doing on their behalf.
And that was done for me because I wanted a budget for dummies, you know, so yeah, I appreciate you doing that. Ooh. Thank you. Any other comments, sir? No more. Okay, at this time we'll have open public forum. Is that right? One more? No, I don't want to have elected officials get to talk. All right, communication from elected officials. Commissioner Neesmith.
I didn't know, should I wave or, no, just behave, right?
That'd be nice.
Okay, I will. Actually, Sunday before last, downtown, on Sunday morning, the power went out along 2nd Street, and the hotels were affected downtown for sure, traffic lights, that type thing. It was the time when both hotels were fully packed, and it's that time when you're getting up and packing your car and coming down for breakfast and all those things. Obviously, the elevators did not work either, so it was quite the pandemonium. One of the guest families that was there said they enjoyed it because they'd had a big wedding, and when they got ready to leave, instead of everybody going on their way, they all just gathered in the lobby and had a great family time. So there is positives. The other positives I want to do, I was just trying to, as a hotel manager, I was trying to figure out how long is this going to last. So my best bet was to get out and find the OMU truck, and which I did find about 2 blocks down. And it seems that we had a pesky squirrel that wanted to do something to a transformer, and he was quite, let's just put it this way, I thought that was a dead frog on the street. It wasn't. It was the squirrel. But I just want to say thank you to the 2 gentlemen from OMU who were in the bucket truck as they were coming down. I was staying there, and they had us all back up, and they got us up and running and had a great attitude. So, again, I just want to say thank you to Daniel and John, and also to our fire department who responded to our hotel because we weren't sure whether someone was stuck in an elevator. So what could have been a very traumatic and angry guest because of the response of the city team members, it was great, and thank you so much.
Okay. Commissioner Cashler.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say, got to go to the air show and wanted to thank everybody that had a hand in the air show. Everything went smooth, and good Lord couldn't have given us any better weather if we'd ordered it ourselves.
I was in charge of the weather.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I did not get to do the bridge walk, which I do love, and had to go to Louisville for my 2-year-old grandson's birthday party, but it turned out to be a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Piggyback on what Commissioner Neesmith said, when the hurricane hit Florida, OMU received a mutual aid request from Florida Municipal Power Agency to provide assistance to the city of Tallahassee electric system due to the damage occurred by the hurricane. OMU sent a 6-man crew and 5 trucks to Tallahassee to assist in the restoration efforts. In addition, OMU released 2 of our 4 tree trimming crews, and we released our 5-star crew to assist in the restoration efforts. OMU crews worked to restore power to Florida residents for 12 days following the hurricane. Crew members included line technicians Jim Goodwin, Mike Atherton, Frank Gillum III, Ethan Pierce, Greg Richardson, and J.T. Wright. And I really want to thank those guys. That makes our community look great for them to go down there and help them out in that awful mess that they had down there. I too would like to comment on the air show. I know Tim's around here somewhere, but I'm not sure where. But oh, is he hiding behind? Yeah. Okay. Do what?
He's behind Kevin over there.
I could see why he'd be hiding. Would you please come to the podium, Mr. Ross? State your name and address for the record, and please give us your overall assessment of how it went, please.
Yeah, I obviously
Sorry to blindside you.
No, that's
but
okay.
I knew you'd have that.
No, that's all right. No, it obviously positive. There's a lot of planning, as we've talked about, goes into it, and I say it time and time again that if we don't have the support crews from so many different facets to make this happen, Eric and I obviously do a lot with it, but it's Public Works, it's Bobby Grant, Police, Fire, folks that step up to fill all the elements to it. And regardless of what plans are in place, if you don't have their support, it's not going to be successful. even Brian Wright and Bruce Cabbage over at Riverport stepped up last minute, a couple of needs that popped up. Last night I was on the phone with them at 7:30 trying to get some additional equipment that we didn't know we needed to help the teams get out of Dodge, and they did it. And, you know, within a matter of a few hours, they're there with the equipment we need. So we've done a really good job in this community building a brand for that industry, and it's the whole community getting behind it is what makes it work. And I think our community should really be proud of the fact that we've got these military teams that want to come to Owensboro, because they don't, you know, they get requests from 50 and 60 cities in a year, and they pick maybe 30, 25 to 30 that they go to, and yet they pretty consistently come to Owensboro. And so, you know, when I talk to Boss and I talk to some of the different pilots for the team, they think Owensboro is a great community to come to, and look forward to the team, you know, coming back really soon. So that's a testament to that support that they get here from not just the crowds on the riverfront, but you know, the hospitality that they get at the restaurants and the hotels, and the interaction they get at the schools and things like that. So it is something to be proud of, to be able to do, and it's a big accomplishment in just a few short years that we've been doing those.
Yeah, I had opportunity to meet them at the airport, and they're just class operation from top to bottom. They're really impressive, and I think maybe we're gonna have them again soon.
Yeah, we hope to. I mean, next year we have the Blue Angels, and then you know, we'll put the request in for those Thunderbirds. They schedule those several years in advance. So, but same weekend, September, it's the 13 to 15 next year, and the Blue Angels will be coming back.
They ain't too shabby either, are they?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows who they are, and so we anticipate really similar crowds again. Hopefully, you know, we'll get some news about some of the other performers later this year.
Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, can I do open public forum now? Yes, sir. All right. Open public forum, members of the audience are invited to address the City Commission on any matter of public concern that was not on tonight's agenda. Comments are limited to issues within the scope and responsibility of this commission. Commission meetings are held to conduct city business for the benefit of Owensboro citizens and taxpayers. At this time, anyone who wishes to address the City Commission, please make their way to the podium. To be recognized, speakers must state their name and address for the record and hold the comments to 3 minutes or less. So open mic. You're not cutting in. This is your time.
Hello, I'm Janet Brown. I've been here for 40 years, and I think all of you know me. I do the stained glass windows for your churches and your bevel door entrances for your homes. So I design things and build them. The Shelton Memorial. Anyway, I've had a bit of trouble for the last 2 years in my community, and I thought I was going to spend a great old age here. And anyway, but I was burglarized, and I've lost $100,000 of my possessions and my family's possessions. I've dealt with your police department, and July 14th, I guess, or 12th, I submitted a public records request to see what evidence and things they had at the police department. When I received the information back, they have lost all the information. They don't have anything, and I brought you all those records, and I would like to submit those to you. It's my neighbors that are the thieves, and I've already taken care of one problem that was behind me, and it was with a house that there was many people living in there, and I've got that information in here for you as well. But I took them to court in December, and I proved them guilty.
Could I interrupt you just a second? Tell us where where your home is.
I live at 1214 West 11th Street, and I've been there for 36 years now.
Okay,
1988, whatever.
Visualize what you're talking about, so I was kind of hoping to know.
Across the street from the school buses, and I had a big studio behind there, and that's where I built everything, and I stayed to myself and my family, and anyway, so you know, it was kind of like your buried treasure back there. And anyway, so I cannot submit the information. I have 23 other people that are involved. They're families. And so anyway, I'm not going to submit the information to the police department anymore because they get rid of the information. And so I need to have an avenue of what to do here. I could not leave my home because they're right next door to me. And they repeatedly came in and tried to take more from me. Because they got a hold of my computer, they found out a lot of things that I did have because I had the inventory on my computer. So anyway, but my son's stamp collection that his father gave him, we traveled all over the world. I've lived in 7 different countries. I have 5 passports since the day I was born. And now I've had to put up with this. So someone finds something for me to do, and I'll submit this information. I have caught the criminals myself, and I passed my 3 minutes. But anyway, and so I even took that, I told you I took them to court in December, but they left my items in the house that I had found, and I thought they were recovered. But 6 days later, they were re-stolen by the friends of the people. And I have the photographs of those people, and I made an incident report on that as well. But for that, anyway, but you'll have this information. And I'd like to submit it to you, please.
I'm glad for you to pass it out. Yes, ma'am.
It's only one bunch, but
Well, we can afford to make copies.
all right, somebody has, because I found it for like $70 to me.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just thinking just how much effort you've gone through. And
Well, they took my son's stamp collection that his father gave him. It was 70 years old stamps that were given to him when he was a child by Spaniards and everything in Europe. Anyway, so it's worth. I don't even know how much money it was,
yeah,
but you know, there's so much been took from us, and I know where it's at.
okay.
And I need to recover it. There's a thing called, in Europe, it's called a civil standby. And that's where the police can go stand by while you go through the property of the people that you assume you've stolen. And as long as you have documentation or photographs or something to prove that it's yours, then that's set up. Our community needs to do that because all this element is happening everywhere.
Okay, we'll certainly look into it.
Right, thank you.
Sorry about your luck.
No, I'm gonna take care of it soon.
Do what?
Thought I brought one with me.
What'd she say?
I said, I'll take care of it. If no one else is going to take care of it.
Yes, ma'am.
But the children were taken, there was children involved in this as well. And the family allowed the children to take the blame for it. But I found in July, I found paperwork on the one man that I couldn't find at the next door neighbors. And he's in jail for the theft of a house in Christian County, the same 2 days before mine or 2 days after mine. Anyway, but he was living next door.
Yes, ma'am. Whew. A downer. Okay. Anything else to come before this commission tonight? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Thank you, staff. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you.